great to have you here, Lloyd. One, two, three, four. Every praise. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah to our God. Every praise is to our God. Our God, every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Now sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Our God, every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. With one accord, every praise is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Please be seated.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Blount Community Church. Thanks for being here this morning. I'm Jeff, one of the pastors, and really glad that you're here. We're wrapping up a series that we've been in called Wishful Thinking, and today I get to share kind of another two-part. It's just been a series that Kenny and I have shared stuff that we wish for people that we love. So I get to wrap that up today, and then next week is Labor Day weekend, and Kenny's actually going to set up the next big series that we're having. So some neat things happening. But most importantly, thank you for being here. If you're a guest, I'm especially glad that you're here. In the chair back in front of you are communication cards, and we use those communication cards for everything here, from prayer requests to signing up for stuff. But if you're a guest and haven't filled that out, and let us know. I'd love for you to do that, to fill it out, put your name on there. At the end of the service, you can turn them in the offering boxes in the back, or if you go out the Next Step doors, it has Next Step above the set of doors on the right side. I'll be there, and other Pastor Kenny will be here and there, and people, so that we can meet you. We'd like to meet you. So thank you for being here. I'm going to pray. We're going to continue singing worship. It's going to be a little bit different again today. This Sunday, you will see more video clips than we've ever shown in one service at Blount Community Church. And I think they're good. I've been real sensitive in thinking about that, and they're short ones. It's going to be different, but it's going to be great, and I'm excited. So would you bow your heads with me? God, thank you so much for each person that's here. Thank you for a beautiful morning, the coolness and the crispness. I thank you for the rain that we've had over the last couple of days and helping with that. And God, you are in control of things, and help us to remember that, because sometimes it doesn't seem like it to us, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it to us. And as we've gathered as a group who some want to worship, and some want to learn more, and some want to check you out, and some don't know why, somebody just made them come. May you meet all the needs that we have that are in this room this morning, because we believe that you are God, and that you speak, and that you want to be involved in our lives, and you can do great things. So speak to us this morning, God, and change our worlds a little bit. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please stand. The power of your love running through my heart, shame has lost its grip on me. The glory of your cross shining on my soul, grace has got a hold on me. From the rooftops sing, I'm not ashamed of the one who saved my soul. I'm not ashamed of the one who saved my soul, my soul. This fire inside of me is burning for your name. I'm not ashamed, hey, hey. No, I'm not ashamed, hey, hey. The flame is getting stronger, the song is getting louder, we can't hide this love away. There's nothing to fear now, sin is in your power.
He's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead. He's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead. He's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead. He's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. And fire falls, come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall, come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall, come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God is not dead, he's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, he's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, he's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, he's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion.
You are my joy, you are my song, you are the well, the one I'm drawing from. You are my refuge, my whole life long. Where else could I go? Surely my God is the strength of my soul. Your love defends me, your love defends me. And when I feel like I'm all alone, your love defends me, your love defends me. Yeah. Day after day, night after night, I will remember you're with me in spite. Although the battle, it rages on, the war's already won. I know the war's already won. Surely my God is the strength of my soul. Your love defends me, your love defends me. And when I feel like I'm all alone, your love defends me, your love defends me. We sing hallelujah, you're my portion, my salvation. Hallelujah, surely my God is the strength of my soul. Your love defends me, your love defends me. And when I feel like I'm all alone, your love defends me, your love defends strength of my soul. Your love defends me. Your love defends me. And when I feel like I'm all alone, your love defends me. Your love defends me. We sing hallelujah. You're my portion, my salvation. Hallelujah. You're my portion, my salvation. Hallelujah. You're my portion, my salvation.
High and holy, meek and lowly, you brought me down to the valley where I live in the dirt, but see you in the heights. I'm surrounded by mountains of sin. Even in the valley, shining light in my darkness. Even in the valley, shine your light. Even in the valley, shining light in my darkness. Even in the valley, shine your light.
Please be seated.
Na 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 na.
We're in a series called Wishful Thinking, and the idea behind the series, Kenny and I were talking about what we could do or how we could get across some of the things that we just really wished that for people that we loved who were pursuing faith and who wanted to make a difference and those kind of things. And today was wishful thinking. Before I get into the wish, I remember the first time this idea started hitting me. I was a younger man in my mid-20s. It was my first international mission trip, and I went to Sao Paulo, Brazil. And we went over there to build a church building. And the church building that we built would have been probably about the size of the gathering area out there, just kind of a rectangular-ish thing. In Sao Paulo, it used to be, and I think it still is, the third largest city in the world as far as the population of people, 25% more than New York. So it's very populated and it's very poor. I remember going over and seeing some things that I'd never experienced before. Sometimes, especially on a first mission trip you go, you kind of have this idea, you think you're cool because you're going on a mission trip. At least I did, and I thought about, Brazil, and it's kind of exotic and those kind of things. And then when I went and started seeing poverty and those type things that are pretty ugly, that reality kind of hit me. And then one night I went with a young lady. She was older than me. Ursula was a person who interpreted for us. And so it took about 2 weeks to build this church building. And then we were going to invite some folks to come, and we were walking around the community. And I've shared parts of this story with you, but there was two rough-looking guys working on a car, kind of an old hot rod. I mean, it was dilapidated, so don't think of hot rod like our hot rods. But it was considered a hot rod over there. Really, in my mind, I thought, these guys are thugs, man. I mean, I'm afraid right now. And but we had a group of us, and they kind of didn't even turn. I had some music blaring and didn't even turn it down. And our interpreter was talking to them and stuff. And I was like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Well, I just invited them to church." And I was like, "Yeah, a lot of good that's going to do." And so then we kept going through there. And the first time we had our first service, stink if those guys didn't show up, and their hair was slicked back and T-shirts. Clean T-shirts. In my mind, one of them had just a plain white T-shirt, and they had washed and things like that. One of them got saved, said that he wanted to have faith in this God that we were talking about. And so all this stuff was going on. And I remember Ursula, the interpreter, looking at me, and she said, "You will never know the change that's going to happen in these guys' lives." And I remember thinking that because I was pretty taken aback first that they came, because I just didn't think, but that's probably my problem a lot of times when I don't think. You'll never understand the change in these guys' lives. Their lives will be changed forever and it's not just because you guys came and built this and stuff. But you've introduced them to a God. And she said, and I kind of knew this because sometimes in the West, in our culture, we see one of our friends or somebody and they have an experience with God, and then a couple months or a couple years down the road, it doesn't really change them. And in some places, that's not the case. That's sometimes the case in our culture, but that's not often the case in other cultures because it costs them something. They have to give up something. It's not as easy decision to give your life and to start following God. And so that's the first time that in my mind I thought, and this wasn't, I was prideful then, but this was a humble thought. It was the weight of this thought was, God has used you to help change somebody else's life. I'm like, wow. And I had this idea of world changing. So I want to put this idea of world changing up on the board because it's not necessarily coming up with penicillin but this is for the purpose of this morning. World changing is making sacrificial decisions that change somebody's. It's not, so sometimes some of us don't think that, and one of the things I'm going to try to get across this morning is just to spur your thought, and for some of you, your remembrance, and that you've been world changing, that you've done some things that are huge. And shame on us if we because I'm not in front of politicians in Brazil thinking that I've really changed this whole country. Shame on me if the weight of Ursula telling me you were part of changing these young men's lives forever. And you guys are part of changing people's lives forever. But to be world changing, again, it doesn't mean that you have to be in the president's seat or something like that. It is changing individual lives. So this is my wish. This is the wish that I have, that you would realize how your generosity helped change somebody's world. That you would realize, I wish this for my children. I wish this for me. I wish this for anyone, because this is a game changer when it comes to your faith, that you and I would realize, not just to pat ourselves on the back, but when you realize the generosity, what you've done, what you've given up, and it changes somebody. In parentheses, I put before heaven, because when we get to heaven, I'm convinced that God is going to put pieces of the puzzle together, and we're going to be like, wow. Man, I didn't realize that. You did this, and you went there, and you served, and you gave this. Now, being generous is giving, so you gave something, and you did that stuff, and God puts all that stuff together. So one day this is going to happen, but this isn't going to help us living right now if we just figure it out or think about it while we're in heaven. So our wish, if Kenny and I could, it would be with people that we love, and if we sat down, we'd be like, man, we know that you give, we know that you do stuff, and it's making a difference. So I want to give you probably about 8 things, 8 areas about how BCC's generosity has changed. So we did Rise Against Hunger last year, and we're going to do Rise Against Hunger in a couple weeks. I wish you guys could see the kids who were eating the 60,000 meals. See, there's probably someone, I wish you could see the face of a kid. From the dried rice and the vegetables that we threw together and put in a package, and somewhere 60,000 times over, a kid is popping that open. A mama is popping that open and dumping some water and boiling it over a fire. And instead of going hungry that day, or instead of having the fear of not eating that day, because you gave your time, packaged some meals, them things cost money. Your generosity is changing. Just that couple hour block on one Sunday last year, 60. I wish that you, in 3 months, it's the anniversary of the Gatlinburg fires. It was a terrible time, and most of us don't think of Gatlinburg as in a handicapped situation or real desperate, but they were. I wish you guys knew Richard. Richard was a man who we met. Some of you do know Richard through our marriage retreat that we had. It was first the Clarion Hotel in Gatlinburg, and then they changed the name. And Richard worked hard through the hotel industries, and he was in charge of custodial stuff and clean. One of the kindest, gentlest, most humble men that I'd ever met. And he was there, and we kept to get to know him. And when the Gatlinburg fires hit, and I was like, wow, because he lived up in that area. And I was like, Richard, what happened? He's like, we lost it. We lost our home. We lost our car. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, we did this for a couple times with fires. We did it for the Gatlinburg fire, and then we did it for the big fire out west in the town called Paradise. And you guys gave gift cards. And we collected clothes. And we made a gift basket. And some of you are really gracious and sweet thinkers, stuff that I never do. And you put stuff for the kids in there and some little goodies. And then me and Kenny get to be the ones that go up there and say, hey, this is what we done. I wish you could have seen Richard. I wish you could have seen his tears. I wish you could have seen him wearing the clothes that somebody here gave him, because all his clothes were burned up. Man, when we do stuff like that, I wish that you could see what your generosity does. Because Richard is probably wearing somebody's clothes. We collected clothes because his daughter and their children lived with him. I wish you could see, and I don't have a picture for this because we don't need a picture for this. Every year at Christmas Wishes in December, when we collect stuff for people in our community, in this place, it's just an amazing thing. So a bunch of you have seen that. And last year, when we did Christmas Wishes in December, there was a family that had to go to their house, and so we drove down it's somewhere out by 411 Speedway, yeah, don't know where that. So they got some bikes. We store them in the back, and we don't tell the kids because, Santa's giving them bikes. So Santa's giving them bikes. We had a conversation about Santa this week. And they couldn't fit him. They had an old dilapidated car, and they couldn't fit him. And so we were like, so I was like, man, I'll help bring them. And I pull up. I wish you could have seen their home that was more modest maybe than any home in here. I wish you could see the mama trying to get the kids into their home so she didn't see. And I was like, I wonder what they're saying. They're like, thanks for following us home. And I was like, then you got it. Just want to make sure you got here safely. And then me and the daddy got the bikes out and hit them around the side. And I wish you could have saw him, because then he starts doing it, and I was a little scared. I was by myself, and then he turns around and he starts doing this right here. And so I was like, I don't think anything's going to go down because I just helped this guy. And he pulls out a wad of money. He's like, here. What's that for? Well, I know it's a long way from your church. I just wanted to pay for gas. So I wish I could have seen those two kids when they woke up on Christmas morning. Because you guys gave to it and because you guys came. Man, it happened. You may have never thought about it. I've tried to think about it because I know what happens in my life is when I realize or when I think about, not in a cocky way, because, man, this is all God doing work in my life. I would be as selfish as anybody out there. But I wish that I could have seen the smiles on their faces when they jumped on their bikes. We work with Family Promise. I wish that you could see some of the families that work in Family Promise, and instead of sleeping in their car that night, I wish you could see them staying. I wish you could see kids when they get excited about coming into a facility because they don't have to sleep in their car that night, because they're going to have interaction with another adult. And most often those adults are Christians and encouraging. I wish you could experience a kid saying thank you. And some of you have. And some of you are involved in this ministry and you know. Some of you spend the night in church buildings all around our community. Some of you made meals for this stuff. Some of you need to get involved in it. Family Promise, I wish you could see a family when they realize that they don't have to spend the night in their car because of your generosity and other people's generosity. I wish you could see how your generosity, and this is a tough one because sometimes BCC, which is not them, it's not they, BCC is you guys, and the money that you give. And I wish you could see missionaries in Africa, a place that most of us will never go. This young couple right here left this year, sold everything, gave everything away, and go to a remote place in Africa And because of your generosity, because you gave to BCC and BCC helped support them, they have a bathroom that's decent that they can go in. I mean, think of sometimes, especially ladies, because guys they're just kind of scummy, so they don't care about facilities. But think when you have to go into a dirty bathroom or a place that's not hygienic, and they will get to go into a clean bathroom in their little bitty home, and they will go on you talk about what we talked about last week. Our wish was that people would take a courageous step of faith that cost them something. You guys, because of your generosity, helped. Now their faith, they took that courageous step, and they were going to do it somehow, but you guys got to be a part of it. And you might not be waking up in Africa this morning, but they are. And you know what they're doing? They're teaching people how to farm in ways that works and doesn't destroy all the natural resources. So that'll happen today. And part of the reason that'll happen today is because of your generosity. This one is a little different. You guys are really, hold up on that picture, Keith. Don't show it yet because I want to set it up. You guys are really generous as far as not being judgmental and showing people grace. And it doesn't matter what they look like. And this is a little bit sensitive. But sometimes people can look, and I Googled unattractive and unsightly. And you guys welcome folks like this. They can look like Vikings or dwarfs or certainly. But it takes generosity. To be fair, here's another unsightly picture that Google picked up of people. But you guys, you're generous with your grace with other people. Right back, I'm going back one, Keith. Some people are generous with their time on the other side of that wall right there. And they get in groups and they do, maybe that's calisthenics, I don't know. I'm not generous with my time behind that wall, but some of you are. And it's creating memories in kids. Some of you have them, some of us don't. It's creating memories in kids that some of you have. And some of us don't. And those of us who don't wished we had. Somebody behind that wall who's generous with their time. See, and they up the stakes back there. Some of us serve in different places. But what they say back there behind that wall, we want you serving every Sunday that you're here. What do you mean, man? That seems like a pretty big commitment. What happens behind that wall needs a big commitment. Because we're building and creating and etching on hearts. And there's some people that are so generous, and some of you got kids and grandkids that are back behind those walls. And because there's some people that say, yeah, I'm not just going to do it this time and I'm going to come. Because behind those walls, they need consistency and they need to see people Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And that's when they come and they say, oh man, there's Larry. I love Larry. He was here last week and I know he's going to be here next week. And because of their generosity with their time, they're changing little hearts and changing little minds. And only God knows what's going to happen to those folks, to those kids as they grow up. Some of you come on Sunday nights and get with students. It's the same thing. Some of us are scared to death of teenagers. We'll go behind that wall and you feel pretty safe. Now, I don't feel safe behind that wall, but I would feel more safe. But some of you adults hang out every Sunday with students. And can you imagine, because you're generous with your time and they see you time and time again, that some of these students went to their schools and invited their friends who are far from God to come to a building that because of your generosity we have. And guess what? World changing is going to happen. Student ministry is growing because of the generosity of some of you, first of all, for giving them an environment, and then saying, yeah, I'm all in. I'll be here, Matt. I'll do what you need me to do. I'll be consistent. Every year we do stuff for children. I wish you could see the smile on a kid's face when they opened up a present that you gave them. It's one of my favorite pictures in the whole world. This happened last year, and it happens every year. When we go to Big Creek, because of your generosity, this is how cool you guys are. You say you're going to take care of the whole school. It doesn't matter how many are up there. 200 kids, we got it. 300 kids, we got it. Going to Appalachia. I mean, you can go and learn stuff about Appalachia on Netflix. They got documentaries about the poverty and what happened through the coal mines. Changing lives because of your generosity happens over and over and over again. And my wish and Kenny's wish is you would see how your generosity was world-changing, made a difference. I'm going to get a couple people to come up here who are generous, but we're not going to talk about their generosity. They're going to represent a group that we haven't talked about that we're most generous to. So we're going to show like 4 video clips, and these video clips are some kids who are waking up in Haiti right now, or are up in Haiti at the orphanage that we support. So we're going to start watching. Zach and Tracy are going to come up, and then we're going to ask them a couple questions, and that's kind of how we're going to wrap this thing up. So Keith, go ahead and hit that video. Zach and Tracy, come on up.
Hello, my name is Pierre. I'm from Labor, but now I'm living at the Freedom House. I'm very happy today to be here, and I'm very happy to tell you some about my life. I grew up in a place where there is no school, church, and hospital. Now in the Freedom House, I go to church and I go to school, and I have hospital around me to go if I get sick. And when I was labored, I never had a parents like to take care of me. And now I have everything I need, and I have clothes, shoes to wear. And when I was labored, I never take my shower every day. I never wash my teeth, and I never had a good meal. And I'm telling you that, guys, Freedom House is a good place to live.
My name is Prosper. I am 15 and I am in 8th grade. When I was in labor, I was in misery. I couldn't have a good life because, for example, I didn't have any sandals, and I wasn't clean. And when I came to the Freedom House, everything has changed. And I get everything I need. I hope that I will be someone important for the community, and for the place where I grew up in.
Et moi très content parce que mon Dieu te fait Freedom House exister pour me te capable vivre.
And I'm very happy because God made the Freedom House came into existence so I can be free.
Bonsoir, mon nom c'est Dieu, m'habiter dans les Oliviers.
Go back to the video at the end of the last one, which was Prosper. I don't want people to miss his smile at the end.
Existence so I can be
Oh,
free.
wow, that's me in the middle of his head. Yeah. Okay, that on the right is Prosper. Prosper is an amazing young man. And Zach, they live in as poor of a community as there is in the world, called Laborde. Zach was able to go there this summer to Haiti to work at the orphanage that we're a part of, and he actually had an adventure, and he got to go to the hometown that these two folks. But I want you to look, so you see him here now in that picture. Keith, show the picture of him. It's at the end, but I want you to see the picture that they took before he came to the Freedom House. So you want to know what difference you've made in somebody's life. This is him before, in poverty and stuff. So, Zach, you went to Haiti all summer long. You're an intern, and then one of your biggest things, or biggest memory, was going. So tell us a little bit about working at the orphanage, and then specifically going to Laborde.
Yeah, so I worked at the children's home, and we did so many things between working in our transitional program, and you can see Pierre and Prosper. They're our oldest boys that are there at the children's home, and they are needing a place after they age out of the children's home. They need a place to be. So I got to help out with doing some paperwork for that, and I got to teach Bible lessons, Bible studies, whatever they needed. I was there. I drove. I got to so many things. The grocery stores, grocery runs. I had 27 kids in the back of my truck. I got to be a part of their lives in the mundane, from early in the morning to late at night. I got to be a part of these kids and see how these kids are growing, and that's been a really cool thing.
And the big thing was you got to see where a lot of them came from. So
Yes.
Tell us about that place.
So, Laborde, I can't really talk about Laborde without describing what the journey is to get to Laborde. So the journey is about 3 hours of a drive to get to a city called Inch, and then it's another 30-minute drive to get to this mountainous road, and it's pretty hairy to get on the road there. And we park, we grab donkeys, and we start heading up a mountain. We pack up our donkeys and start heading up that mountain. And it seems fine at first. It's 9:30 in the morning, and then it starts getting a little bit hotter, and one mountain becomes 2 mountains, and then there was about 45 other mountains. And you just
And your
keep on-
guides even got confused. They got up on one mountain and they thought it was there, and then they're...
Yeah, they were like, behind that ridge, you'll see Laborde. That was a lie. That did not happen at all. And when you think that's the top of the mountain, and then we'll see Laborde. And I couldn't speak any Creole. I didn't know what was going on. So I would be like, oh yeah, we're getting to the top of
Were
this
you the
mountain.
only white dude with that group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so. So we went up, and would get to the top of the mountain, and then you'd be like, oh, there's another mountain. Okay. And it ended up being about a 12-hour journey, hiking up to get to Laborde. So we started early in the morning and got there late at night. And Laborde that was
Yeah.
the shortcut. And Laborde itself is not a village as you would typically perceive. You would perceive all these kind of houses all together, but it really is just there's a house on this mountain, and there's a house on this other mountain, and there's a few down here in the valley, and it's beyond what we see every day. The kids are, you can tell they're malnourished. I know from our kids' history that a lot of them had like worms, scabies, you name it, and that was really hard to see.
So what would their life have been had they have stayed in Laborde and not come? I mean, what? Because you've seen some people.
Yeah, that's the girls honestly would probably end up being sold as prostitutes, which happened to Pierre, the first video, his older sister or his younger sister. The guys are used as Restivics, which are just slaves. And so their labor, Pierre was a slave, Prosper was a slave as well. And they would have to walk those mountains to get clean water for just scraps at home. So you would see remnants of that there. There's no health care. The closest hospital is about 13 hours away walking. There was no school, and now there's a school, and there was no church, and now there's a church. So these kids' lives have been changed because of the Freedom House, because they've been introduced to Jesus. They have schools, they have food, and there's more hope from these kids coming back to this area to bring that hope that Jesus can bring that hope that can come with just one small voice to defend an area.
Being generous. We're going to watch 2 more videos, and they're about a minute clip. One is Jacqueline. She's very quiet and timid, and she has an interpreter. You can listen carefully, and you can listen, and you still won't know what she says because she's speaking in Creole. But the interpreter will help you. And then at the very end, is it Widner? And he's actually the interpreter in this, and there's a pretty amazing story with him too. So, Jacqueline and Widner.
Bonsoir, mon nom c'est Jacqueline. M'habiter dans les Oliviers.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline. I live in the Freedom House. Et est-ce qu'on est capable de dire qui genre Freedom House changé la vie depuis là où rencontré ou bien depuis là où venu ici?
Freedom House changé la vie. On va prendre l'école pendant l'école.
The Freedom House has changed my life because I couldn't go to school. Now I go to school. I couldn't go to church. I didn't go to church, but now I go to church. And I didn't know how to hold a spoon, which means I couldn't find any food to eat. I didn't have good clothes, but now I have good ones. I didn't have underwear, but now I do. I have some. I didn't have good sandals, but now I do have a lot of sandals. And I couldn't comb my hair, fix my hair well, but now my hair is beautiful. I didn't have good books and notebooks and everything to go to school, but now I get everything. I couldn't have backpacks and to go to school, but now I do have. And I didn't have a lot of good things, but now I do have a lot.
Mbat kon li kon dam fin kon li.
I didn't know how to read, and now I can read.
Mbat kon pali franse kon dam fin kon pali franse.
I didn't know how to speak French, but now I can speak French.
Mbat kon pali anglais kon dam fin kon pali anglais.
I didn't
That's
know
good,
how to
Keith.
speak English, but now I can.
Wait on the other one. Tracy was in Haiti last week. Tell us what, I'm sure you saw her. She's waking up this morning. What's she doing, and what would her life have been like without Freedom House? Freedom House is the orphanage that we help support and that we help raise money to relocate and that. Tell us about her, Tracy.
Well, Jacqueline just pretty much told you all about her life. She has sandals and underwear.
And her hair's
Hair's
beautiful.
beautiful. And those are the things that are important to a little girl. But what they don't tell you is really the hardships that they all have endured at such very young ages. I've interviewed every child at the Freedom House, and I can't really put into words a lot of what I've heard from them, but they leave out a lot of the bad stuff. They're telling you the things that, the light things like sandals and underwear, but they have been through so many unimaginable situations that I know what her life is like today, and her life is full of joy, and she has the things she needs. She is so thankful for everything, and I think that she did the best job describing what her life is like.
And we have a picture of her.
We do.
Show that picture. This is before she came to.
This is Jacqueline. Yes, before she was rescued, we have pictures of most, if not all, of the children. And this is her in front of the home she was living in. She was living with who we believed was her uncle. She was a restivec, which means she was staying with a family member or someone that was entrusted by her family that she had at one point, and she was a servant. So if she had stayed in Laborde, she would be probably really close to being married, just a few years from being married and having children, or a prostitute. There's really, really very little hope. There is emptiness and a yearning for food and just the basic necessities of life. So it's a very, very sad, sad place.
So is it fair, because I'm saying because of generosity like them and other people, because there's not a lot of people that support that orphanage.
No.
That they were part of something that absolutely changed those kids' lives.
Absolutely. I couldn't do what I do without the generosity of most of the people here, and I know that the Freedom House couldn't exist without the generosity that has come from each and every donor that gives.
Last video clip, another minute. This is Widner.
Widner.
Hello everyone, my name is Widner. I live in Port-au-Prince. Today, I'm very happy to share a part of my life with you. So my life has been very tough, but it's long. I'm not gonna be able to finish if I start. I want to share with you and to show you how when one person gives to somebody, how many things this can do. I remember somebody gave me the opportunity to go to English school, but it was my goal to be an English teacher. I couldn't afford it, but I had a friend of mine who helped me to attend the school, like one of the best English schools in Haiti. Now I'm teaching English at the Freedom House, as I used to teach English outside, but now I'm working at the Freedom House. I translate, and I think I will be able to help all the people around me, and including like the kids in the community. And I would also say thanks to that person. She's a special person for me. So thank you for that. And if I'm speaking English today, it's because of you. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Whitner.
Well, Widner's quite the guy. About 6 or 7 years ago, Widner approached me. We've been friends for a long time. He approached me about paying for some schooling. And I didn't want to pay for that school. It was really expensive, and I thought to myself, there's so many better things I could be doing with that money, like paying for my airfare to go to Haiti every 6 months or every 3 months or whatever I was doing at the time. So I didn't really feel like I wanted to do that.
What is the value of him now? And that's a pretty sad way to voice that question.
Yeah.
He obviously is very good speaking English, and I can just imagine for some of us, if we say, hey, we're going to try to send somebody to English school, maybe not getting that excited. What has that done for him and for the orphanage?
Well, I prayed about it, and God kept telling me that I just needed to help him with that. So not only did I help Widner, I also helped Widner's friend go to school, go to this school he's referring to, and I had no idea why I felt the calling to help him and why I was so resistant to do it. But I did. I was obedient to what God's word was for me at the time, and I paid for the school every 3 months, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. It was a lot of money, and every time the money just was there. So I have been blessed enough to be able to see that giving, that one sacrifice I didn't even want to do, and how it has helped Widner, and how it is now helping the 27 kids at the Freedom House, and how it is also now helping the staff that are learning English at the house, and also some of the community kids, because now he's having little English classes with the community kids. And not only is Widner doing this, some of the kids in the Freedom House are having their own little classes for their friends that are in the community, or some of the other Freedom House kids who don't speak English as well or understand it.
I wish that I did that. I wish that he'd have asked me, and I'd have said no, because I don't know if I'd have said yes or not too. But just imagine, because of somebody's generosity, every time he speaks English, on the inside, I'd be like, I'd pardon that. Our wish for you is that you would realize how your generosity with your time and with your money absolutely makes a difference. Especially when, as a church, we do bigger things than you could ever do on your own. It's an awesome thing. I'm not going to show the last video, but I want to tell you, because in 2 weeks, and this is on the front of your bulletin, in 2 weeks we're doing Rise Against Hunger. Rise Against Hunger, and today's the last day to sign up for Rise Against Hunger. If you have a phone, you can hit that QR code on the bulletin. If you want to ask questions, then we'll be back at the Next Step corner. But we're going to take all the chairs out of here and put tables, and we're going to package, I don't know how many tens of thousands of meals. It depends on how many people sign up. But today is the last day to sign up for Rise Against Hunger. If you are able to do that in a couple weeks, then I would encourage you to give up some of your hours, because it's to a great cause, and BCC will continue to be a generous church because it makes a difference in people's lives. And you guys are the church, so thank you for that. I'm going to pray, and then we'll be dismissed. God, thank you that, first of all, you modeled generosity to us. You were a giver. You gave something that money and time can't even, doesn't even really relate when you talk about Jesus and his sacrifice for us. God, help the generosity that so many here have in their hearts. may it light a flame in their faith. And God, you've blessed so many of us in here with stuff, and God, you want us to have stuff. You just don't want our stuff to have us. And so as we look at possessions and stuff, we thank you for your blessings, but help our hearts to be generous, to love other people, to love you, and to make a difference in the world. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you for coming. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day.